It's over to our judge panels, Kirsty, Jan, Colin and Colin.
This, for me, it's a nice, calm, serene image. I like the light, the way the light flows through on that left-hand side. And you follow in from this bottom up through towards that light. Just for me on this one, there's a little bit of a distraction in that bottom left-hand corner, that bright bit of the water there, just sort of pulls your eye down a little bit. But other than that, I don't know whether it should have maybe been taken off a bit lower and then you were just seeing the water and through to the trees at the back. But yeah, I quite like that. Nice image. Jan?
Yeah, I thought it was beautiful. In fact, it was probably my favourite image of the whole lot. I did think the sky at the middle at the top is very, very small, but it's slightly blown. And I agree about the bit down at the bottom left that, you know, it might have been nice to have either darkened it down or cut it off. But I thought it was such an evocative image. It was lovely.
Kirsty?
Yes, I thought the light in this was beautiful too. It's very ethereal. Same criticisms really. The bottom left-hand corner is too bright. I would maybe have lightened the foliage on that rock in the bottom right corner as well. But beautiful image, one of my favourites.
Colin?
Yeah, nothing to disagree with there. It was my top one for this category. It's a classic image, isn't it? In many ways, but just so beautifully done. I like the timing of the exposure, just getting the right amount of movement in the water, not too much, not too little. So it just helps that golden sheen across the water flowing through there. Yeah, lovely.
All right, next one then, please, Brad. I don't know, is it Cullinan? Isle of Skye? Yeah, very, very moody and atmospheric. The dark sky and the snowy tops. I think I'd have cropped, personally, I know judges talk about cropping, I'm not a judge, but I would have cropped this foreground off. I just think it's too busy and too bright. I think bottom of the lake, chop it off there, you've got a much more moody, atmospheric image without this at the bottom. But yeah, quite a nice image. I like the colours in the sky at the back there, just on the top of the hills where it meets the sky. Jan?
I did think it was a very, very lovely image. I do think it's a bit blown out where the sun is. And the angle, I presume it was taken with a wide angle lens because the left lake is going off a really odd angle. And I thought if you cropped that and a bit of the foreground, it might be better. I presume the mist in the background is either a rain or a snow shower, but the sky is lovely and it's really another evocative image, I think. But I love landscapes.
Kirsty?
Yes, I did quite like this, but for me, the bright sunlight part of the sky just spoils it a little bit. I was distracted by the lake sloping off to the left, but I wouldn't have cropped it. I'd have just straightened it because I think the colour in the foreground mirrors the colour in the sky and brings it all together. But I do find the sky too bright.
Colin?
Yeah, it's an interesting point that Kirsty just made about that bottom right-hand corner, because that was one of the things I didn't like about it. So the idea that it's kind of providing balance with the top left-hand corner could work, but nonetheless, I think that would be better darkened down. And the mist just at the head of the valley there, I think, it's either something which makes it or it spoils it. For me, it just slightly spoils it because it just removes some of the detail, just at the bit that your eye is taken to. So it didn't quite make it as one of the best ones, but very, very nice image again.
Next one, please, Brad. Right. A bit steer whiff on my screen is that. When the storm strikes, now I kept looking at this. Is it a composite? I mean, is a light out and the rock there and some of that, and is the big wave on the left-hand side, is that actually added in afterwards? So I'm not sure. I mean, it is, it's a nice shot in that respect. Do we need the square rock sticking out of the wave there? You know, if this is a composite and that's been put together, has that been put in to give a focal point, but the lighthouse should be the focal point? I'm not sure we need that rock. If it, let's say, it could have been taken out. But quite a powerful image with the sea coming over, but it's not one of my favourites, unfortunately. I think it's just, it looks too built up. Yeah.
I thought it was a mock-up as well. It just seemed wrong because the light on the lighthouse is facing away from the waves, and it just seemed wrong to me. And some of it's clear and some of it's smooth. The bottom left-hand corner is sort of, you know, normal, and you've got all this smooth bit. I just felt it was a composite and it didn't do an awful lot for me. That's me.
Kirsty?
Yeah, same here. I think this is horrible. It's absolutely definitely a composite, and I don't like it. It just doesn't look right.
No,
I'm not entirely sure which bit it is that's jarring, but it just doesn't look right. Like I can't talk. It just doesn't look right.
Okay. Colin?
I mean, it didn't occur to me that it had been stitched together in some way, but certainly that big wave doesn't look right. That was my comment. The degree of sharpness on it was out in comparison to the smaller wave at the bottom left-hand corner, because you do get that wonderful effect of it sort of towering great big wave coming over this tiny little lighthouse, which is really just reduced the little point of light on it. But the fact that the big wave was so very out of focus kind of spoils it a lot. And if you take the view that it has actually been stitched together with several bits and pieces, that would explain partly why that happened. So yes, it's one that could have been very powerful. You know, we've seen lots of those photographs, huge great big waves and little things about to be crushed by them, but that one didn't quite make it, did it?
It didn't occur to me that the light was facing the wrong way. Never saw
I
it. until you mentioned
it was going around as they do.
I don't know whether does it go around? Does that cover go around? Is that what shows the light? I don't know.
No idea.
no, I've got no idea. It just seemed to me to be facing inland.
Yeah,
which seemed wrong.
if that's right. Didn't occur to me that. Right, next one, Brad, please. House on sky. Yeah, I like this a lot. I like the mountains, I like the light in the sky, and the rainbow just hitting that out. Again, somebody's been in the right place at the right time to get this, or have they adjusted it somehow? But for me, a really nice image. It's just one little niggle, and that's that little white square towards the right hand side. I can't work out what that is, and it would have been so easy just to dot that out. And then you've just got that image of the mountains, the light on the house, and the rainbow just hitting it bang on. Yeah, really nice image like this. Jan?
Yeah, I liked it as well. I think that white square is a sign of some sort, and I think I'd have cropped it a bit to get rid of that, or got rid of it. And I also, when you go right in, the house is not really in focus, but then if you're looking at it as a whole thing, that doesn't really matter. It is a stunning image. Yes, that's me.
Kirsty?
I don't really like it. I can appreciate it. The mountain's beautifully shot. I like the curve of the trees and the dark foreground leading into the view, but it's just too twee. No, I think it would be better without the rainbow, which I'm not entirely convinced is natural.
No,
But it's not for me. It's
done well to get it on.
it's a good, well shot image, but it's not for me.
Colin?
Yeah, I mean, it's the rainbow that makes it in a sense, isn't it? If you took the rainbow out, I don't think it would be all that good. I thought the lighting on the mountains was a bit flat, actually. But
I've lost you.
that helps to make the rainbow stand out. So that's why I think it works as it is. I do tend to agree with the view that sort of rainbows hitting things a little bit twee. Yeah, it's either been put together or someone was very, very lucky to be there at just the right time. And I also thought that the square sign or whatever it is very, very easily got rid of and would have helped.
Breaking up a bit, Colin, I'm afraid.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I was had an immediate problem with my internet just before I came on. It's usually all right, but it went all together just before I was due to come on.
Right, next one, please, Brad. Okay. Padley Gorge in the Peak District. This one for me, it's just too much going on. It's just too green. I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at. I know there's a twisted tree in the middle, which is, you know, it's something to focus on, but I don't know. It's just too busy and too green for me. Is this? It is nicely shot. There's nice detail in it. The exposure's good, but it's just far too busy. There's nothing really to focus on.
Yeah,
Jan?
I agree with that. And one thing I thought was that is not a gorge. You know, so why call it Padley Gorge when there's no evidence of a gorge? I mean, I thought there was some very interesting shapes, but again, I thought it was very green, and the brown bit sort of on the left-hand bottom corner. It's a shame because if there'd have been a path sort of winding its way through that was obvious, it might have actually given a focus and some interest. So no, it wasn't one of my favourites either. That's me.
Yeah, I'm in agreement on this one. The trees are nice shapes. I do like a tree, but there's no focal point. It's too busy, and the green is just a bit too overpowering for me.
Colin?
Yeah, very, very much the same, I'm afraid. I like the colour and the light coming through, but you are just left being quite uncertain as to what it is exactly you're supposed to be looking at. There's a hint of a path leading off, but it doesn't quite go anywhere, and if it does, it goes the wrong way. The big boulders in the bottom right are kind of leading into the same point about a quarter of the way up, aren't they? But for no great purpose. So yes, it would have been a great spot, I'm sure, to get some really nice woodland shots, which are difficult to do. But this one doesn't quite pull it off.
Next one, Brad, please. Mount Thor, Bathing Island. Yeah, I like this one. Again, I do like these scenes, the snowy scenes, where you've just got to be on the top of the landscape with the snow. The river makes a nice lead-in, leads you through to the mountains at the back. I'm not sure about this big mountain on the left-hand side there at the top with a big white patch of snow on it. I seem to be looking through the middle and then coming back to that and back through the middle, trying to see where the river's going and then coming back to that point. No, I do like these sort of landscape images. Nice image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite nicely framed by both, you know, the mountains on either side. I agreed that there's a nice leading line with the stream. I wondered if they could have pulled the sky out just a little bit more, especially over towards the left. But it is a lovely image. It really is. Yep, that's me.
Yeah, I agree with Jan with the mountains. I like the mountains on both sides with the river taking the leading line through to the back. And I love the sky. I wouldn't change the sky at all. I think that's beautiful. But I do find the light in the foreground just a little flat. I want a bit more vibrancy or light in the foreground. That's me.
Colin?
This was my least favourite one out of this set. I just find that great big expanse of, you know, what looks to me like the bottom of a gravel pit running through the middle. Very uninteresting. Yeah, you've got the river running through, and they've obviously tried with the exposure time to get some bit of blur on the water, which has worked well enough, but there's not enough water to really make much impact there. And the horseshoe of the mountains is just that little bit too far away somehow from everything else. So it doesn't quite blend together. You don't feel as if you're in it. You feel as if you're looking at it from a little bit too far back. and it's generally all rather flat. The sky, I think, is blown there right in the central bit in the middle. So no, I wasn't very taken with this one at all, I'm afraid.
So from that batch of images, I haven't actually got anything from Kirsty on her favourite, but the Fairy Glen was coming at two of the four at the moment preferred Fairy Glen. I actually preferred the house and sky.
I did prefer Fairy Glen.
Right. So Fairy Glen there, an outright winner with 3-1. But oh yeah, nice image.
So do we
Next
want to
one's
see what the actual winner was?
Fairy Glen.
Oh, is that what the ones at the end are? They're the
That's
actual
the winner.
winner.
Yeah,
Right.
I thought there might be.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Right,
my
well.
favourite out of that bunch. But right, so our next lot, Brad, was sport, please.
Sport, I hope next. Yeah.
Right, the first one, luge. Yeah, this I thought was excellent. The panning technique, the rider's just a little bit off. It should, pin sharp, not quite, but almost there. But the panning technique in this is very, very good. I like the diagonal colours, sweeping through top to bottom there, and the guy, his colours complement those colours on either side. Yeah, quite a well executed job, really, considering, because he must be travelling at some speed.
I haven't got a lot more to say about that. I thought it was a great image, and I just wish I could have taken something like that. It was really good. Yeah.
Kirsty?
Yeah, I concur. I've got nothing else to add. Same comments. Nice diagonals, complementary colours, great panning, great shot.
Yeah, I struggled a little bit with this one, and there's another one coming up in a couple of shots' time, which has a similar kind of problem. I think Colin said that the person on the luge, what do you call them, a luger? Is that what they are? Anyway, whatever they are, it's neither really sharp nor is it showing enough blur to add to the sense of movement. It just kind of falls halfway between those two, I think. But as a graphic image, the diagonal streaks and the colours which go really well together, that's really nice. So I could almost like it with the person on the luge taken out, really. But there's something about the sport, it just doesn't quite work for me.
Okay, next one, Brad, please. Right, the night swim. I don't know what's going on, but these are coming through blurry on mine. They're all a little bit off and pixely. I don't know whether that's my internet connection or what, but I have seen them clear when I've looked through the ones that were sent to me.
Colin, I think some of it might be down to Zoom, because when I got sent the images, they were really quite clear.
Yeah. Some of my notes are saying that the sharpness of them, but these don't look like that at the moment. Some of these are a little bit pixelated.
It was like that luge one. I didn't, when we actually had them, he looked sharp to me.
Yeah.
So maybe
that was
it is Zoom.
Yeah, that was a little bit off. Anyway. Yeah, they obviously taken underwater with the guy swimming over. He's frozen the action. But I know there's a nice diagonal. The beading at the bottom left there, I know it did the lanes, but it's a little bit distracting for me, even though it's running in the same line as a swimmer. But no, it's not my favourite. It's just, I don't know. It's just something about it. The colours red at the top, blue on that side. Why is it like that? Maybe the lighting in the stadium, but I mean, a good technique to be underwater to take it, but not one of my favourites. This one, I'm afraid.
I didn't understand the red bit either, and I think I'd have taken the pink. Are they bouquet dots? I'd have taken those out, because I feel my eye gets drawn to the bottom left because of the barrier of the lane and those pink dots. I mean, it's a great shot in a way. The guy could have done with shaving under his arm. But no, I really didn't understand the red at the top either. That's me.
I almost really like this. I did quite like the red. I just don't like the green lane divider. I think that clashes. I would have changed the colour of that to red or blue to match either the red or the blue in the water. And I'd have left the bouquet. But what really annoys me is they've just clipped the top of the fingers off at the top of the frame, and that's really bugging me. But I did quite like it, despite that. Not my favourite, but it's good enough.
Colin?
I was a bit confused as to why this was referred to as night swim. I suppose that's something to do with the red colour above, maybe. I agree with the clipping off of the fingertips, because the bit I like most about the image is that sense of speed you get with the hand, that leading hand, cutting through the water and the bubbles kind of streaking back. So just to lose the tips of the fingers takes away from the strongest bit of the image. And I think, like others, the green lane marker is just a little bit too prominent.
Okay. Next one, Brad, please. Quite fantastic.
Sorry, I just read one.
Down, Alan.
Yeah, obviously this is taken, I don't know, early evening or first thing in the morning with the sun quite low, casting the shadows. I did like the silhouettes. I liked all the length of the silhouettes right across the actual running track. Nicely laid out with the main runners at the top, and like I say, the silhouettes right towards the bottom of the image. Spike Niggle, the guy on the far right, the first one, he's sort of disappearing out of the frame, very close to the edge. Could he have just crop that edge in a little bit and just get the main runners? You can see the white is a little bit bright and it's just running out of the frame. But other than that, yeah, I did like this one. John?
I found that there were two things that distracted me. One was the second guy from the right. You almost lost his head. And the other was the funny shadow in the top left, which I think I would have tried to clone out. Oh, so that wasn't there. I thought the reflection idea was brilliant, and it stands out really well. But the other thing is the bottom left-hand corner, there's some sort of box there, and the light on the top is really distracting compared to the other one, and it pulls my eye down there. That's me.
Yes, I'm in agreement with the distractions. The quality of the light in this is absolutely lovely, and I do like the shadows. But for me, for these shots to work, they've got to be a lot cleaner and a lot simpler. I don't like the shadow in the top left. I don't like all the gubbins by the side of the track. And the first guy practically cut out of the shot just spoils it for me. I think it would be a lot better if it was a cleaner shot.
Exactly as Kirsty said for me. I mean, this is very, very neatly a really nice kind of graphic image, isn't it? Very, very simple with the kind of semi-silhouettes and the lovely shadows. But I think for that to work, you've got to keep, as Kirsty was saying, the rest of it's got to be kept really clean. So that wobbly shadow at the top is a minor problem. The big problem is all the gubbins alongside the track at the bottom. It spoils it completely.
Okay, Brad, next one, please. Flying solo. Yeah, this is quite bad on my screen, but again, another panning shot. You can obviously see the speed that this guy's going, and he's quite blurred in this, and I think he is. I don't think it's my screen this time. I think he was quite blurred to show that he is actually moving, but it just spoils it a little bit. I'd like to have seen a bit more detail in the guy on the bike. We don't need the detail in the crowd or the arena, the velodrome, but I think he just needs a bit more. I like the way the colours come round in an arc and then run past him, and I don't know, should he have been a little bit further in? He's almost out of the frame at the bottom. Should he have been a little bit further back? So a slightly wider shot and crop a bit more at the top rather than the bottom. But yeah, no, again, technically excellent for me. This, Jan?
Yeah, I did find that even on the ones that we had, the bike wasn't really sharp. And I didn't really like the bottom left-hand corner. It was so dark down there, and just pulling it up a little bit might have helped, and then pulling the side in a little bit, and he would have been a little bit more on the thirds. But I mean, all the colours that are sweeping are really good, but it wasn't my favourite shot by any means. That's me.
Kirsty?
I'm not keen on this one either. Similar things to what's been said. That left corner's too dominant. It's too dark. The guy's not sharp enough, and I would want him bigger in the frame. Especially in comparison with the other panning shot, it's not strong enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't totally taken with the early one of the person on the luge, but this has similar problems, but more of them, I think, for me. So as others have said, the bike isn't anywhere near sharp enough. I'm quite happy with the crowd bit, actually, and that dark bit in the left-hand corner. I quite like the way that kind of frames the rest of it, but it's the fact that the cyclist at its best on the images that we've seen, just it looks too much like a blob.
Go on, Brad, please. Morning mood at Winlatter, 2. Didn't miss the first one. Why is it 2? Anyway, I like this. Probably my favourite of this bunch. I used to do a bit of mountain biking myself. I would have loved to have done this. Anyway, yeah, I like the light behind him, the way he's in silhouette. His action shot, he's got his front wheel up in the air, he's jumping. Just let it down a little bit for me, the overall size of the image. This right-hand side where we've got a dark tree and then a light gap and then a dark tree right on the edge. Could that have been brought in? And maybe the tree at the background there just darkened down a little bit. It's sort of competing. There's a lot of light on those trees just between the two dark ones. But no, I did like this. I like the colours, the atmosphere, the fact that it's early morning. Yeah, good image. Well done.
Yeah, I liked this one as well. I like the fact that the biker was lit from behind by the sun, and I liked the sort of silhouette effects of the trees. It really did seem like a good action shot. You could see that he was moving. There was no way he could be stationary. So yeah, I really liked this one. But what Mandy's just said, I agree with that. That cut it off almost halfway, and now I've just put my file in front of it, and that does actually make it a more powerful shot, I think.
Kirsty?
Done.
I love this shot. This is my favourite of the group. I just think it's absolutely wonderful. I wouldn't change anything. I like it as it is. I think it captures the essence of the sport, but it's also a beautiful image. I love it.
Colin?
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's my favourite of this round as well. Very different from all of the others because of its setting, basically. And now I kind of get what Mandy was saying, other people were saying about removing a lot of that stuff on the right. I actually like that because it creates a sense of where this was happening, which I think makes the photograph. It's the sport in its context. And as a woodland shot, it's much better, isn't it, than the earlier one in the landscape category. It was meant to be a shot of woodland. I mean, even if you didn't have the cyclist in here, this would still be a very, very attractive image.
Yeah.
And of course, as it's meant to be about sport, obviously you need to have that, and it works extremely well. I like it very much.
Okay, next one, Brad, please. Feeling the Spinnaker. It's, for me, this is almost just a record shot. There's some nice textures in the sails, some nice colours in the sails, but I've not got a lot to say about this. It just doesn't do anything for me. It's very tightly cropped. I'd like to see a bit more round it, but it's just a lot of blue and a lot of people in red. Not my favourite, sorry. Jan?
Well, everything seemed to be in focus, but I think I would have cropped out the buildings, bottom right, or sort of cloned them or something, and the bit the other end. So it looked more as though they were, out on the ocean rather than close to land. but again, there's not a lot there to grab you. You know, it's a nice shot, but I can't really say anything else about it. It wasn't my favourite in this group by any means. In fact, it was probably the worst.
Kirsty?
Yeah, it's the worst one for me too. I don't like this at all. I don't even think it's a good shot. It's far too tight in the frame. It's completely cluttered. And they've managed to take a sport where it's fast moving and action packed and make it look absolutely static. And no, doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely that last point that Kirsty was making again. It is completely static, and I assumed that, I don't know anything about sailing, but they're either taking that sail up or putting it down or something. And so I imagine they're all kind of racing around all over the place, and you don't get any sense of that at all. And it's primarily just a shot of the sail. Sail's been quite nicely done. I mean, there's some very difficult exposure issues there, which have been nicely handled, but it's just a sail flapping about in the end, which isn't very interesting to me.
Right, thank you. And B, Kirsty, are you going with the morning mood?
Yes.
Mountain biker.
Yeah.
Again, Janet, you said the luge.
I did.
Yeah.
Although I
sticking
do
with that.
like the mountain bike one. They
Yeah.
were equal, really.
Yeah. So our favourite amongst us, we're going with the morning mood.
Yeah,
Winlock and the mountain biker.
Yeah. That was a surprise.
And this one, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think that was very good at all.
No.
No, nor did I. I
Did you
certainly
notice sorry,
No, carry on.
Go on, Mike.
I was going to say, did you notice the bike rider? The front wheel had a shadow, but the rider didn't. I think the rider might have been put in.
Right.
I didn't notice that.
No, I didn't either.
I could be wrong. But
That would
Anyway.
be against the rules of cycling, wouldn't it?
that,
Doing it? Surely you've got to have a cyclist. You can't just have bikes going around by themselves.
it's in the highway code. You can't cycle without a shadow.
Well, you can't cycle without a cyclist, is more of the point. But
yeah.
Shadows with the sun we get.
Flying solo was the winner.
Right, yeah, surprised at that.
Yeah.
Technically, not a bad image, but it's just
Mm.
the rider.
So
was
the
it
third
good?
one was architecture, was it then?
Yeah. Ironwork, Victorian Albert. This, is it supposed to be a mono image? It's almost mono. There's no real colour in this. I like the reflection at the bottom. It's just a pity about the balustrades running across that bottom third. I don't know whether you could have done anything with those, taking a step forward or back, but they just seem to spoil that reflection for me. But it's well exposed, it's detailed right through. Yeah, a good image. Like I said, the balustrades just spoil that reflection at the bottom for me. Jan?
Yeah, I spotted that. Looks to me like a chess set. And I was thinking, what on earth is that? In some ways, it would have been better if we could have seen that in the top as well. I don't know, but it's a very bright image, but I thought it was very clever. And that's it, really.
I really like this one. I like the brightness. It's got lovely tones. It's very bright without being blown out. And it's got a real sci-fi feel, which is why I like it. The balustrade doesn't really bother me. I just take it as a different set of lines against the converging lines of the main image. Yeah, I like this a lot.
now I was troubled by the balustrades. I thought it was a watermark that had been left in by mistake when I first looked at it, because it does to me look out of place. And although I like the kind of the high key way it's been done, just a little bit too bright on those two lines leading in either side. They just go to pure white, and I think they probably shouldn't quite do that. So it was very nearly the kind of image that I really like, but I think the balustrades and the slight over brightness of one or two places just spoiled it.
Next one, Brad, please. Evening sunlight. Yeah, very simple. very minimalist image. I tried something similar in Morocco, but it didn't work out as well as this. I like the shape of the building. I like the shadow that falls on it, almost cutting the building as if you're missing a bit of it. I do like that. But the bottom bit there, I can't work out what that's adding to it. It's black line and then the white bit at that side, the very pale bit. But the top 2/3 for me, yeah, nice image, nice calming, serene image. That.
I thought it was very minimalist. I think maybe the sky could have been pulled out perhaps a little bit more. But again, I really don't know what this bit at the bottom is, because it seems to sort of stick out and not be parallel with the rest of it. So it looked a bit odd to me. I'm done.
I really like this one, but I like a minimalist image. I just like the colours in it, the tones, the shapes. The bottom isn't quite gelling with the top, but it's not enough to spoil it for me. And this is my favourite one of this group.
It doesn't quite make it into my favourite one category, but I like it very much. It is beautifully simple. I in my notes, I actually say I like the way the sky's been treated, because it stops it getting in the way of everything else. So the tones on the building and the tones on the sky are very, very similar. It's hard to see where one starts and one ends sometimes, which is kind of what it should be like. I wasn't bothered about the bit at the bottom. It's intriguing. I think there's a sort of a triangle a bit coming out towards you, isn't it? At the bottom of the building there, another layer, which worked quite well. Yeah. But it's very nice. It's one of the few from here that I'd be quite happy to have up on my wall.
Yeah. Right. Next one, please, Brad. Somebody just noted that I keep putting out these images on my. Like I said, I don't know whether it's my internet tonight. I think there's a few of us having problems, but they're getting very pixelated now. So whether it's my internet in general or Zoom, I don't know. Right, next one, spiral. Yeah, I like the mono conversion. I like the light and the dark, and then the grey bits in the middle. And I like the inclusion of the figure there at the bottom. For me, he's probably in the right place. I don't know whether he should have been further up. I think there, just at the bottom, he starts you off, and then you follow that ball up to the top to the light. Yeah, quite a nice image. This, John.
Mm-hmm. I liked the idea. I mean, I've taken a photograph of a spiral suit thing like this before, and it wasn't as good as this. And I think the figure's good because it adds interest. I do think the white wall behind the figure is perhaps a little bit bright, because it does tend to draw your eye. And I don't know whether it does go out into the open, but if it does, would it not be an idea to sort of pull the sky out a bit so we knew that? But I do like the image. I think it's very well done.
Kirsty?
Yeah.
I like the graphic quality of it. The stark black and whites makes it a little bit more interesting. But the only problem I have with these sort of images is I've seen so many images of spiral staircases. It needs something extra to make it stand out, and this, although it's very good, it looks like a dozen others I've seen. It doesn't stand out that much for me.
Yeah, I think that's the main problem with it for me. I like it very much. Also, a fan of black and white graphic images, but yeah, there are so many of these around. I've tried quite a few. Again, like others, haven't turned out quite this well. The figure is needed, I think, but I'm not quite sure if it is in the right place. I've kind of, as I've been looking at it, I've been thinking maybe it'd be better if it was just a little bit further forward, over to the left, a little bit further back. It doesn't quite seem to work where it is. I'm not quite sure how you would make that better, but certainly you need it. Otherwise, there's a loss of the interest is lost, and you wouldn't know quite where you were supposed to be looking, which I suppose is part of the point of a spiral photograph anyway, isn't it? It kind of disappears. That's it. Sorry.
Next one, Brad, please. Alone. Yeah, I like the lighting in this. I like the angle that it's shot from. You've got the big building at the back with all the square windows. You've got this juxtaposition of this V, this beam that's in a V, which mirrors the the tunnel, I think it is, on that right hand side that seems to kick out in a V with the glass, and then you've got this little figure just to give it scale. Yeah, very graphic image. It's just the lightness on that right hand side where the sky between the two buildings, it's just maybe a little bit too bright. Do we need just take that off by the side of that tall building and just have the windows, the glass, and then the framing of that beam? But yeah, I did like this.
Yeah, I thought it was a very interesting composition. I would have liked it if the figure was perhaps a little bit closer, and he isn't very clear. And in fact, if you look at his reflection, that is actually slightly clearer than he is, I think, which sounds a bit odd. But I thought they were good leading lines, and I like the bit of blue sky, and I like the bit of blue in the middle of it because it gives another point of interest. I thought it was a nice city photo. Yeah.
Yes, I like the corner as well with the blue sky. I think it balances with the colour in the image. I think if you take those out, it's going to be very grey and a little more flat. The figure, it's just a little lost. I know that's the point of it, but I'd like it either a little bit larger in the frame because of the strength of that V of the shadow you've got at the left-hand side. That pulls all the attention away and it just makes the figure seem a little lost to me. I'd like him to be a little more dominant. But it's a lovely shot. I love the light in it.
Colin?
I like this one very much. It's probably my favourite of this group. The lighting, I think, is fabulous. The little blue bits at the top and down in the bottom make a huge difference to the image. The V shape, I don't find that pulls my eye. I find it helps to draw attention in. And I think that little figure makes it, and I think they're probably in exactly the right place. And the fact that they are a little blurry all helps to kind of get that sense of this one little person being lost. It could be an image that would say a lot about the pandemic, couldn't it? I've no idea when it was taken, obviously, but you could imagine this as something which sums up what a big city centre is looking like at the moment. No one there. No, I like it. I think it's really lovely.
Next one, Brad, please. Elysium. I did like this. I like the reflection. I like the it's almost brutal, the shape of that building with the spikes and the lines, and I just like the way that it flows back, and then you've got the soft curves of that building in the background with the nice warm colours around it. It's almost minimal, but there's just so much going on in that first building. But yeah, I did like this one. Very angular. I might say I like the tones and the reflection. I think this one would be my favourite one.
I thought it was very futuristic. And then I looked at it again and I thought it looks like the bones of a fish. It was a pity that the reflection isn't quite as sharp as perhaps it could be. And the horizon is very close to the middle. I think I'd have cropped a bit off the sides, especially that the trouble is if you took the bits off where the tall buildings are, you'd be right at the edge of it. I'd be interested to know where this is. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah. It's a very interesting photograph. That's me.
I think this is lovely. The light in this is just beautiful. I like the delicate colours. I like the reflection. I like the sci-fi feel again. That always appeals to me. The only thing I find distracting is that red bricky coloured building in the background. I would desaturate that and then it would be perfect. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I agree. It was very needy, my favourite one. I've never seen this building before, and too will be interested to know something about it. It's an amazing structure. Like Kirsty, I found the red brick building just off to the right a problem. It would have been nice if that had been demolished or one way or the other. The pinky, I'm assuming it's a sunrise, is it? I'm not too familiar with sunrises, I have to say. I assume that's a sunrise, but that's lovely. The colour around there is lovely. I did find, however, that you kept sort of joking backwards and forwards between the sunrise bit over the bit in the distance and the end of the building on the right-hand side. and the bit in the middle got lost a bit. So that, I mean, that's why it dropped into second place for me, but it is a fabulous shot.
Okay. Next one, Brad, please. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that. This for me just seemed very, very odd. I like the bottom part, and I like most of the reflection, but the chairs at the top, it just seemed, do we need the chairs on the ceiling? Would it have been enough just 2/3? It just seems really odd that it's all there. I'm not sure we need all that. It's well detailed. I like the lighting, I like the colours, and I like the shape of it, but it's just that bit at the top. The chairs at the top, I keep looking at it thinking, what are they doing there? But other than that, yeah, I do like the image.
I thought it was very clever. I would imagine that it was a pan starting and going up over the head to the ceiling and back down again. I would think that was my impression. It is very clever, but I don't like it very much because it actually made me feel a bit sick. So, no, not for me, that one.
Not for me either. It's too busy. It's too distracting. I also can't get over chairs on the ceiling. It's no. I can appreciate it's a technically good image, but I don't like it.
And as somebody just said in the chat, has it been flipped? I don't think it has, because if you look at the top, the altar
different.
is different. Yeah, so I
Different
said I
at
think
the
it's
ends.
just a pan over your head.
Yeah.
Mm.
I assumed it was a vertical panorama or whatever you call it, as Jan was describing. The bottom bit is really nice. I mean, if that's just a straightforward shot of the bottom bit of the building, that would be lovely. The colours are fantastic, aren't they? And the light kind of flowing in from the big windows at the end. But in the end, I thought it was kind of too clever by half, really. And the chairs on the ceiling, yeah, doesn't work. You don't have chairs on ceilings. And although you can do something which is deliberately unsettling, this is unsettling for no good purpose, it seems. No, I didn't think it was.
Just odd all around that, wasn't it? So, Kirsty, your favourite from that bunch?
It was forgot the name of it. Evening Sunlight. But I'm happy to go with anything apart from that last one.
Well, there's two went for it alone, and I went for it Elysium. So, I mean, at the bunch, the alone, the little guy in the cityscape, has probably been the favourite amongst all the outstanding. And that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, muted guys, but there's your winner.
Yeah, I didn't dislike it, but it's right. Dogs in car. Yeah, humor shot. I quite like this. It's almost as if they're sat in traffic. That dog started to out what the hell's going on. Why aren't we moving? And I just like the way the front dog there, that bulldog, is just sat there. I like the expression on his face. One small niggle, the lady at the back there in the orange. I don't know what you could do about that. It's obvious reflection. You couldn't put her out. You'd miss half that dog, whether they just darken down. But I did like this one. It's a humorous shot, and they've done well to get the dog to sit there like that. Jan?
No, this one didn't do anything for me. I thought there were too many reflections in the side of the car, and the people throughout the, in the far window. There just seemed to be too many bitty bits on it, and the dog out of the window was. Does that mean that he's on the edge of a wide angle lens, that he looks so sort of out of shape? No, it wasn't a favourite of mine. That's me.
Kirsty?
Yeah, I'm not keen on this either. To me, this is just a snapshot somebody's taken. There's too many distractions, the reflections, the bits of people. I really hate they've cut the corner of the dog's ear off. I really don't like that in a photo. It's got good comedy value, but it's not a good image. Not for me.
Yeah, I agree. When I was looking at these yesterday evening, Fiona, my wife, came in. She said, "God, they're not getting you to talk about dog pictures, are they?" Because she knows what my feelings about dogs are, and they're not good. But this is, yeah, I don't like this either. If it had just been that main dog sitting in the driving wheel, sitting behind the steering wheel, that might have been better. But as other people said, there are too many reflections of human beings in it. The people through the car, there's a man reflected, woman reflected at the back, and I agree with Kirsty about the chopping off of the dog's ear. Terrible thing to do, even to a dog.
Yeah. Next one, Brad, please. A yak. Yeah, nice portrait of a yak, if you can have a nice portrait of a yak. The ground underneath the yak almost mirrors the fur. I quite like that, the way that it's all spiked and like the fur is there at the bottom. The background behind the yak, it stands out. It's quite plain. There's not much detail in the sky, which I think if there was more detail, you'd get slightly distracted. And I do like the muted colours of this. Yeah, I did like this one.
My first thing I wrote down, and it's something what Alan's just written, was domestic. You know, is it really a pet or a domestic animal? So how does it fit the theme? I did think that some of the long fur down at the bottom was a bit out of focus, and the background, you know, it's sort of in focus but not. And is that the depth of field? Should it be either in focus or completely out of focus? And I thought the sky was a bit boring, to be honest, but I can see how it reflects in with the color of the animal. That's me.
I like this a lot. I think this is lovely. I like the depth of field in this because the yak is nice and sharp, but you still get a hint of the background, the location where the animal lives, domestic or otherwise. I like the plain sky because it gives a nice, clean backdrop to the animal. The colours are in it are lovely. I really do like this. It was almost my favourite, but not quite. But it's a lovely shot.
Yeah, I would agree with what Kirsty's just said. The plain sky works very well because it really shows up the horns and everything on the animal, and a more attractive sky in its own right would take away from some of that. I also have my doubts about the domestic and petty nature of a yak, but I suppose whoever was organising this was happy to accept it. So who are we? There are a couple of fence posts sticking up just to the right, which is one of those things that you don't notice, but then when you do, you really begin to bug you. But otherwise, it's a very, very nice. I like the texture on the fur. I'm not bothered about the bits being slightly out of focus on the bottom there. It's sort of just a little bit of movement in the wind. But I like the look. You could feel that you could start stroking it. I wouldn't actually try that, but you feel as if you could.
Yep. Next one, Brad, please. Juno. Yeah, straight headshot of the dog in the ferns. I like the detail. I like the detail in the ferns. There's a lot of detail in the dog's face. On my screen, the nose is a little bit soft. Possibly, again, depth of field. It might just be zoomed tonight. I don't know, but it just looked a little bit soft for me. But I like the detail in the head, the eyes, a little catchlight in the eyes. The concentration on its face, just staring straight into the camera. I did like this one. Yeah, nice. Really good.
I thought there was very good focus, but as you said, the nose is slightly out, but only a bit. And I thought it was well framed by the fern, except for those two bits on the left that are over his ears. I might have tried to move that, but it could have been just an opportunist snap. I thought there was quite a lot of black in the bottom corners, but I don't know whether if it was sort of cropped in a bit from the side or whether it was just pulled out a bit. That's me.
Absolutely. I absolutely love this shot. I think this is wonderful. I might be biased though, because it's a doggo, because the first thing I've written down is, oh. But I don't mind the nose being soft because it's sharp on the eyes, and that expression and focus and intensity, I just think that is lovely. I don't mind the dark vignette. It just puts focus on the animal. This is my favourite of the group.
Mhm.
Not just because it's a doggo.
Yeah, although my feelings about dogs are about as far away from Kirsty as you could possibly get. I also like this one. It's my favourite too. I think if you're going to take photographs of dogs, this is how you do it. I think the soft nose is absolutely fine because it draws your attention right bang onto the eyes, which are very nice. Those big kind of watery eyes that thing's got. The dark bits around the edge, I think, make it kind of helps to frame the whole thing. The light across the face is really nice. Yeah, I shall put aside all my dog prejudices and like it.
Right, thank you. Go on, Brad, please. Yeah, another dog. I do like this one as well. I'm not sure. For me, is this a composite? Have they got a background? Have they got the dog? And have they got the bubble and put it together? I'm not sure. The bubble just seems a little bit too close to the dog's face, a little bit further away than there's just something about it. The eyes and the bubble don't just gel exactly for me. But nice image, well shot, nice exposure, good texture and detail in the dog's face. I don't mind the colour in the bubbles. It just stands out against the background. But I just think this may be a composite. I might be wrong, but it's still a nice image though. Jan?
Yeah, I thought it was a lovely image. My sister's got a red merle and he looks very similar to this, but I agree. The bubble seems to be too close. I think if that was real, the dog would have snapped at it before then because it's just got too close to him. So I think it must be a composite. And you can, the reflection is of a couple of people, I think, isn't it? So
two
yeah,
people and two umbrellas.
Yes.
They're two lighting umbrellas.
Yeah.
Right,
the
that's
top
what
and the
it
bottom,
is.
yeah.
Yeah. So, well, maybe it's not been photoshopped in then. I don't know. But anyway, I mean, it's a really good photograph. Yeah, but I'm not really a dog person.
There's no reflection of the dog in the bubble.
No, there
No,
isn't, is there?
That was the other thing. Yeah, it just.
Yeah.
Kirsty.
Right, I'm done.
Yeah, I like the actual portrait of the dog. I think that's lovely. And it's got a fine art feel with the toning in it, especially against the background. But I found the bubble very jarring because the colour of the bubble doesn't match the fine art feel in the rest of the photograph. I did wonder if it was a composite or a well-trained dog because my dog tries to eat them when they get that close. So, but it could just be much better trained than mine is. I like it a lot, but not as much as the last one.
Colin?
I think it's a nice shot of the dog, but I don't like the bubble. It doesn't work. It's too bright, too distracting, all the reflections in it. You spend much more time trying to work out what's going on inside the bubble than you do looking at the dog. So if you remove the bubble, brought it over a little bit from the left, it'll be fine. But with the bubble, I don't like it.
Okay. Next one, Brad, please. One for the cat lovers, it. Don't understand the title, Grand Mistress Candy, although there are Grandmasters in chess. I suppose it's a Grand Mistress is a female equivalent. I like the humour in this. I like the way it's been set up. I like the way it's been shot. I like the exposure's right. It's pin sharp, the detailing, and the cat concentrating on the pieces. And he's got his little stuffed friend at this end who he's obviously going to be beating, or she's going to be beating. Yeah, I do like the shot. It's not my favourite, but I do like the way it's been set up and taken.
Yeah, this was my favourite. But then I'm a cat person. But I thought that the lighting was excellent, especially the way it lit up all the white chess pieces. And the cat looks like it's really contemplating a move. And I loved the use of the stuffed toy. I thought it was a really nice image. Yep, I'm done.
Kirsty?
Yes, I like this a lot too. Not as much as Juno, but this would be my second favourite. The lighting is lovely. I love the stuffed cat as the opponent. It bugs me that they've chopped the ear off again. I wish they wouldn't do that. But the expression on the real cat's face is lovely. It's very intense. It's a really nice shot.
Yeah, I very much like the shot of the real cat, the chessboard, the lighting, the colours of the, the ground, the background all work very well. For me, though, I thought the addition of the stuffed cat was a mistake. I think without that, it would be very nice indeed. It just doesn't. It seems to be quite a serious photograph of a cat, if you know what I mean. And the addition of the toy spoils it.
Okay, right. Next one, Brad, please. And this is our last one. This is Abigail, and I'm going to be honest. This was my favourite. I don't know. There's something about this, the humour in it. The fact that somebody's got down and dirty to take this shot. There's great detail in it, texture in the mud. You can almost feel how hard that pig's skin is. It's just, I don't know, the texture's superb, and then the light in the eye. And then I actually thought, is it just a pig's head dropped in mud? Because you can't see the rest of the body. I know there's other pigs in the field, but no, I did like this one. I thought the texture, the lighting, detail was absolutely spot on. Jan?
I'm exactly the opposite. It didn't do anything for me at all. I agree that it's a good photo, but again, on the left, something's cropped off. I'm not quite sure what it is that's cropped off, unless he's got 3 ears. But no, it didn't do anything for me. Sorry.
Kirsty?
I do quite like it, but there's too many distractions for me. That bit of fur that's sticking off to the edge of the frame, that just keeps pulling my eye, because I'm thinking, what is it? Is it part of the pig? Is it another pig? Is it a bit of fur sticking out? I did also have, for an instant, is it just a decapitated head, because you can't see the rest of its body for an instant? And it's a little bit, I don't know, there's something about it that's, no, it's not my favourite.
Yeah, I was also bothered by the fact that it just looks like a pig's head. I think you have to kind of struggle to get over that, really, to then start appreciating it. So the colour is lovely, the pinky bits around the eye, the mud swapping about all over the place, that's all very nice. The detail on the fur around the forehead, that's lovely. But then you've got another half a pig sticking out behind it, other pigs at the trough over there, which kind of really add anything, but get in the way. So it's, yes, there are many bits about it which are really, really good, but overall, I didn't find it very convincing.
Right. Kirsty, your favourite from that bunch?
Juno,
yeah. Colin said Juno.
Yeah, Juno's
I actually went for Abigail, and Jan went for the cats. So Juno just made it with 2 votes, but yeah, quite a difference of opinion with us. And that one again.
I think that bubble was added.
Yeah, it's a nice.
It's not lit in the same way as the dog.
No.
It's an excellent picture of a dog, but like I say, I think the bubble is just composite's been put in after. Dog's been looking at something else, I think.
So we're kicking off with street, I believe, this time.
Yep.
So we've got street, portrait, bird, and macro.
That's the one.
Back.
Okay. So this is one of those, you've seen lots of these, haven't we? The sort of decisive moment, as it were, street photograph. You get an interesting background, you wait or set up the right person to walk past in front of it. So it's largely all about the combination of the person in the front and the thing in the back. This, I think, works pretty well. It works for me on 2 levels. You've got a largely kind of monochrome figure, the pavement, most of the interior of the shop, various shades of grey, and then, of course, the bright Rolling Stones logo behind it. I suspect also it's intended to work on a kind of clash of cultures level as well in some way. I'm not quite sure what particular aspect of that was intended, but I see the clothing as indicating someone who's religious in some way, and the stones, I suppose, will be seen as the opposite of that. Technically, it works well with one or two little exceptions. I think it's a great shame that the second logo down in the left-hand corner is there. That's a distraction. It'd be difficult to crop it because you'd have to crop the other side as well, obviously, and then it gets possibly too thin, but it could have been darkened down. And there's a little flash of yellow as well inside the shot, which would have been easier, I think, to have just darkened down by itself. But otherwise, I think it's a pleasing enough image of its kind. But the problem, in a way, like some of the others we've talked about, you see a lot of these, so they've got to be really good to stand out. Who wants to go next? Kirsty, do you want to take on that?
Yeah, pretty much similar to what you've said. I do like it, but I've seen a lot of them before, and it doesn't really stand up as well to some of the other ones I've seen. The yellow thing at the side, I would have desaturated that, so you've not got that bright area at the edge pulling your eye away. And I didn't like the white stripe reflection in the glass. I find that quite distracting. It's a good shot, and I do like it, but it's not my favourite.
Okay, Jam?
I wasn't very taken with this. I thought that there were too many reflections in it, especially the top of the bus that runs across to the mouth. And that sort of tends to draw my eye all the time. And I did wonder about the yellow tongue, whether it was actually there or whether it had been put in. But a bit of it's cut off, which I didn't really like. And I would have preferred it to have gone out to the person to have taken a step out and hopefully not get knocked over by a bus and get her feet in and perhaps have her head a little bit further down so the top of the yellow tongue was more obvious. You know, it just seemed like somebody's holiday snap from a visit in London. That's me.
Yeah, I think Colin is saying same kind of thing. He's left me some notes. It's difficult to use somebody else's notes, but it describes it as being a nice bright image. Again, talks about the reflection to the right being bright and distracting, as is the yellow sticker down to the left. So similar kind of views by the look of it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So twice the fun. I like this quite a lot. I think the mono works well. I like the slightly on the diagonal line of the railings that split it into two halves. I suspect this might be something that other people don't like, but I quite like the uneven edge to the shadows around the left-hand side down at the bottom there. I think it makes it interesting rather than just keeping it uniformly square, which may well, of course, just not have been possible. But I think that works well. There is the one thing I don't like quite so much. There's a little flash of light coming down on the left-hand side of the image, and there's what looks like another shadow just intruding into there, which is not balanced on the other side, which is partly what this is all about. But in many ways, I really like this. Kirsty.
Yeah, I don't like the shadow encroaching on the bottom left. I just find that's just a little too heavy. I do like the graphic feel of the photograph though, and I like the sense of movement in it. Nice light, but the bottom left spoils it for me. It could be stronger.
Okay, Jam?
Yeah, I didn't like the bottom left, and I think it would have been better if that had been cropped off. It makes it much more of an effective shot. I did wonder if it'd been messed with. I mean, I don't mean that horribly, but if you look carefully, I'm not sure about the reflection, and I don't really like the fact that the line goes through the boy's foot, the bottom part of his leg. So no, I wasn't really impressed with this one.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think Colin is more in line with you than he is with me. Last reflection, lacks detail, distracting smudge in the bottom left corner. So the majority of you seems to be that the bottom left-hand corner doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay. London After Dark. This one I like a lot. It's got an immediate appeal. There's that very strong sort of triangular shape right in the middle, the light running down diagonally. The figure who's either sleeping or intently talking to somebody on his phone. And then all around it, now I think you might consider this to be too busy, but I find it endlessly fascinating looking at all those bits around the edge. The two people going into the doorway, there are windows there. You're trying to sort of peek in to see what people might be getting up to in there. It's hard to work out what's a reflection and what you are seeing directly, which all adds to a huge kind of sense of mystery. Reminds me a bit of Edward Hopper paintings. It's got that, if you know those, it's got the same kind of feel to it. The colors and so on, the light, use of light is very similar. And it's that same sense of people all close by but isolated from each other on a dark and mysterious evening. So I like this one very much. Kirsty.
I also think this is a very strong image. It's the sort of image I like. I like this very much. The figure in the center is captivating. He's highlighted by that diagonal line of white. And although I normally don't like busy photographs, all the stuff around the outside, it gives a snapshot in time. It's a moment. I think it's very strong. And there's somebody's just said in the chat though, that dot of white bright light in the middle, that needs to go. I don't know why he left that in. That's very distracting. But that aside, this is my favorite image of the group. I think this is lovely.
Okay. Jen?
I presumed it was taken through a window because I can see a sort of line running parallel to the diagonal light bit, which I find a bit off-putting, to be honest. And I find the light down in the bottom left hand corner a bit off-putting too. I thought it was quite a strong image, but I didn't think the guy, he's a bit dark on one side. So I did think it was atmospheric, and having lived in London for a while, it is quite a good picture of what London's like. There's still the busyness, and yet this guy's found a solitary place to either go on his phone or go to sleep. But it wasn't my favourite one.
It's not entirely clear from Colin's notes whether he liked it or not. He's making some of the same points that we have. The left-hand side, he says, is distracting, how they're involved in the image. So I think he's not taking the same view that Kirsty and I certainly did about how that engages you. But it's thought-provoking. Where is it? What's he doing? So I think he agrees that it kind of gets you involved, but perhaps not as positively as some of us. Okay. So we jump on to Regent Street. Now, I don't like this one, but I can easily see that other people may well like it very much. There are aspects of it which are very strong. So you've got the big poster, the eye of the woman in that comes out nice and sharp. She's looking straight at you. And then further down, you've got the other woman with a young child look as if they're looking up at her. The mulberry bits and pieces around the edge. What spoils it for me is the big empty space in the middle. Now, I know in a way that needs to be there because that's how these two figures are engaging with each other. But I just end up looking at that big empty white space in the middle, and you kind of have to remind yourself that you're supposed to be looking at other bits of the image. So although, as I say, I can see that other people might like it because there are many bits of it that are very strong and striking, it sort of grabs your attention immediately. I don't find it kind of holds it for very long, unfortunately. Kirsty.
I didn't like this one at all, not anything about it. There's two main focal points, they're fighting with each other. There's writing in it, which I find distracting. I'm struggling to find any redeeming qualities in it. I wouldn't give it a second glance, sorry.
Okay, Kirsty doesn't seem to like that very much. Jan?
No, it wasn't one of my favourites. I didn't like the fact that the words and so on were cut off. I know you can read it says Mulberry, but what's this half an M on the right hand side and for re? Why not just cut that off? And I think it would have been better if there was a bit more of the person holding the child. I think it's cut off too high, but then that's probably to get the eye in of the poster. I found it a bit odd, to be honest. It's very bright and very dark. I didn't like it much.
Okay. It's a shame the other Colin isn't here, because he liked this and actually picks it out as his best of the group. He likes the diagonal light. He likes the half face watching. Is it well seen or staged? That's all he's got in his notes. I don't know what else he would have said about it that would contradict some of the views that the rest of us have got. So yeah, it's an image, isn't it, that has some strong elements, but for some of us doesn't work as a whole. Okay, and Free Soul, I think, is the next one, the last in this group. Now, my final conclusion about this is a little odd, as you might see in a moment. I really like the three panels. I really like the light shafting through the water. I absolutely love the silhouette of the young girl. I think that's delightful. It's almost like a Banksy thing, isn't it? But the incredible detail in her hair and little button nose, mouth, the pen, paper, whatever it is that she's holding. Although you can't see her face, I mean, you can see her really lost in concentration on what she's doing there. All of that is wonderful. What spoils it for me, and I'm sure the photographer don't like this one little bit, is the shark. I just don't like the shark, if that's indeed what it is. It's kind of chopped in two. Obviously, it doesn't add very much. I suppose the point is that you got this huge great big shark and this little child, and they're just quietly taking no notice of each other. And if they were both in open water at the same time, that obviously wouldn't be the situation. But that doesn't work for me. And without the shark, I think it will be a lovely image of that little girl. With it, not quite. Kirsty.
You've said pretty much exactly everything I've written down. I love the panels, the water, the light, the silhouette of the child is absolutely wonderful. But I've thought it would be better without the aquatic mammal, because I didn't know what it was either.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
but yes, just what you said.
I feel the same, and I really didn't know what was going on at the top of the middle panel. There, because obviously it's a whale, somebody said in the chat, and yeah, you're right, it's split in two. It would have been far nicer if there'd been some sort of goldfish going past. Yeah, I mean, the silhouette is brilliant, and the three panels and all the rays coming through. But it would be nicer without the whale, I think.
Okay, so you want to dump the whale.
Yeah.
Colin likes the silhouette as we have, and the diagonal light he thinks it might have worked better with only two panels of glass, but I'm not quite sure which one he would drop. So I think the empty one to the left, but that kind of makes it more of a picture of the whale shark thing, which wouldn't help me in any way at all. Okay, that's the end of that section, I think, is it?
Yeah.
So we had two of us went for London After Dark. Jan, you seem to indicate Free Soul as your
yeah.
favourite,
Of
but
them
that doesn't.
all, it was the one I liked the best of all of them, but I didn't really like this category.
Right. Okay.
But that was the best. I just loved the silhouette, the girl.
Yeah. I agree. The silhouette is absolutely gorgeous. And Regent Street was Colin. So it's two for London After Dark. So we will go for London After Dark, which seems to be the right one. Looks it.
Yeah.
You chose wisely. Yeah, winner.
Okay, so into portrait. I have kind of mixed feelings about this. There's some aspects of it which are fabulous. I mean, the timing obviously is perfect. I love the expression on the girl's face. It's absolutely great. I assume they usually look like that. You just don't get to see it. The boy's got the right sort of combination of amusement and shock and horror. I quite like the background. It's got a sort of timeless quality to it. Now, I think that could have been taken any time from 1940 to the present day. British people on the seaside. There's a slant on the horizon, which is either caused by the camera not being straight, obviously, or by a bit of lens distortion because there's a lean to the left in the building up there at the top. It's not critical, but it is one of those things that once you notice it, the more you look at it, the more you don't like it. Yeah, so it's nice. It's a sort of fun kind of image, the sort of thing that you might see getting onto one of the inside pages of a newspaper if they've got nothing else to write about, but doesn't do a great deal for me. Kirsty?
Yeah, very similar. I like the way they've captured the gull landing on the boy's head, but there's too many distractions in the photo for me to make it a good image. Something encroaching on the left-hand side of the frame, the wing cropped off, tail clipped off, the white bird on the right-hand side of the frame. And it's just very grey. See, it's got novelty, amusement value, but I don't think it's a good shot.
I thought Joe's face was brilliant, but it was almost cropped in too far. And actually, now I'm looking at it again, I do wonder if that's been pasted on the background. The lines against Joe are very close. And I sort of wonder if it's been photoshopped because the people in the background look as though they're from a time gone by.
Yeah, yeah.
So I sort of do get it jumps out, and the fact that the bits of the seagull are cropped off and this bit at the left, you know, and as Kirsty has said, and the bit of the bird on the right, you know, I don't feel that somebody's really thought about the composition of it. That's me.
Okay, Colin, similar, I think, really. Someone's been quick to capture this, pin sharp on the gull on the boy's face, like the expression. Not quite sure whether that's the expression of the gull or the boy, or both. Background is slightly busy, and he also points out that the horizon isn't quite level. I don't think many of us have thought it had been photoshopped, but yes, it could well have been. I'd say I quite like the fact that the background has that timeless quality to it. I think that's one of the nicer things about the image. Right, okay, that's Joe and the gull. The ex boxer. There's a lot about this that I like very much indeed. Obviously, here's someone whose boxing days are long past, and it stands out, doesn't it, against the usual picture of sort of very highly toned, muscular, ripped boxers, and there's one of those coming up. And there he is, just a little bit saggy. And a sort of hangdog expression on his face. I like the lighting. It's a bit dark at the bottom, but I think that works very well. But what I like about it is that it's a very sympathetic shot of the guy. It could have been quite nasty, really. You know, here someone still thinks it's appropriate to strut around with his boxing gloves and his boxing shorts at 103 or whatever it is. But I think it's very sympathetically and kindly done, and I warm to it. Kirsty.
First looked at it, I didn't like it very much, but it did grow on me. I do like his hangdog expression. The lighting, though, I find a little harsh. I wish it was just a little gentler. Too dark at the bottom for me.
I personally didn't like it. I wondered if the shot of the whole person might have been better. And I really, you know, the skin on the inner arms, not very nice, but if that's how it was, I just thought it was rather a weird picture. And I think it might have been a bit stronger as a portrait of his face, because the face is there's a lot of characteristics there. And I think that the rest of it sort of detracts from the face. Done.
Okay, I mean, Colin has something similar, just describes it basically, finds the shorts blending too much in the background, makes him look like he's floating. likes the look of the face, wonders whether he'd still be capable of lifting the gloves. So, okay.
Mhm.
I mean, this is one that immediately strikes you, doesn't it? I have to sort of declare an interest in that both of my daughters had hair that colour when they were younger. They're now into or approaching middle age. It's not quite as dramatic as that. What I like about it is that it's kind of a challenge to some of the conventional images of classic English beauty, because ginger hair and freckles are not supposed to be beautiful, and they certainly are here. The clothing that she's got on, the pearls around her neck and so on, all add to it. I like the fact that it's very tightly cropped. She's, you know, the eye contact is very, very strong. When I was first looking at these, I thought that we were being asked to pick an overall winner, and this was in strong contention for that. So I was looking very carefully for reasons why I might not have it in that elevated position. And the thing I just slightly don't like about it is the little sort of shadow under her nose. It's just a tiny fraction too dark. And that just takes an edge off it. But I mean, that's a very, very nitpick. It's an absolutely fantastic image. The eyes just looking at you, brilliant. Kirsty.
Yes, nothing different to say. It's a beautiful image, pretty girl, lovely shot, very, very striking, very intense eyes, lovely.
I thought it was a really good image. It's so simple, it's central, her eye color is very clear, and it complements the hair color. I think I would have liked it to have been cropped a little less, and been able to see all of her hair. But I thought the way the light catches the curls was really nice too. It's a lovely shot.
Yeah, I don't think Colin would disagree with any of that. Perfect exposure and detail throughout. Love the colours in the hair, eyes and freckles, which we all are taking to. Okay, thank you. Cheven Clark, so he's in Team England, so I assume he's a well-known boxer, but I have to confess I've never heard of him. So this, I mean, if you put this alongside the other one, the ex-boxer, the contrast is very clear, isn't it? He's obviously at his peak, very powerful looking man. I like the fact that it's a very dark photograph. I like the lighting on his face. I think some people might find the little streak of light on his cheek to the right of the photograph a bit too strong. I like that. I think it kind of adds to the sort of greasy, sweaty look that you might expect somebody to have in that situation. Similarly, there's writing on the corner of the ring at the back, but that's Lonsdale, it says, doesn't it, which is a trademark or something which is closely associated with boxing. The one thing I didn't like about it is a bit odd. His hands are resting in that ring on the ground of the ring itself, the circle, and because of the shadow, it looks to me as if his hands are sinking into the ground. And it's again, it's one of those things that once you've noticed it and had that thought, you keep coming back to it and say, why is his hand sinking into the ground? You can't be pushing that hard. But with that very minor exception, this is another very, very nice one. Kirsty.
Yes, I like this very much too. I didn't see the hand sinking thing, and it still doesn't spoil it. It's still a good image.
Good.
I do like the dramatic lighting. I like the light on his face. The only thing I find a little distracting is there's the white rectangle behind his shoulder. I'd darken that down a smidge. Maybe a little bit more light in the eyes, but it's a lovely, lovely shot. I like this.
Okay, Jan.
Yeah, I thought it was a good portrait shot. I did think that the cheek was perhaps a little bit flown out, but the big thing that I thought was, why hasn't he got boxing gloves on? If he's supposed to be a boxer, it seems silly to have these sort of crinkled things on his hands. But then I don't know anything about boxing. And I did find the Lonsdale writing at the back did draw my eye quite a lot away from him. But it is a good portrait photo.
Yeah, Colin's comments are largely just describing what's there. He likes the lighting and the details in the shadow and showing the boxer in the environment of the boxing club. So, yeah. Okay. I struggled to make up my mind about this one, to be honest. I love the expression on the girl's face. I mean, it's that wonderful combination of real fierceness and ferocity, but at the same time, because she's so small, she can't really be all that frightening. So that part of it is really good. The lighting on the face is perhaps just a little harsh, but in a way that adds to the ferociousness that she's trying to put across. The thing I really was uncertain about was whether the arrowhead of the arrow should have been in the image or not. I assumed that it was a deliberate decision to crop it out, and then they cropped out the top and bottom of the bow as well. I guess if it was there, you could say that it would draw your eye away from the child's face, which is meant to be the main point of the image. But it seems to be a very important part of what she's doing, and to have it missing is odd. I really struggled to make up my mind about that. What I'm slightly more certain about is I think that some of that left-hand bit behind her should be taken out. And there are those circles in there. I'm guessing they're probably targets, archery targets, which have gone right out of focus, but there might just be specks of light. But whatever they are, there's 5 of them altogether. They're a powerful distraction, particularly the 2 that are just in front of her left eye. But otherwise, there's a lot I like about this, but it doesn't quite come together properly for me. Kirsty?
I don't like this at all. I'm sorry. I know everybody likes pictures of cute kids, but I'm not one of them. The highlights, like you said, are too distracting. Her expression, I find it really twee and manufactured. I just don't like it. And the colours, the strength of the figure against the green English countryside background, it just doesn't look right to me. It's no, don't like it.
Yeah.
I quite liked the photograph because I thought the photographer really caught the concentration on the child's face, but I thought maybe more of the arrow and maybe even the bow should be in there and get rid of the white bits in the background. But it was another one that I wondered if it had been placed or not. You know, and it just seemed, it looks as though it might be the lakes behind it, and she seemed out of place there, but I don't know. Sorry, that's it.
Well, Colin says that he loves this. He describes it as a fun shot. He likes the facial expression, great detail in the girl. Wonders if the background could be a bit darker, and also draws attention to those same highlights that we've talked about. This actually was his best image, so I think he was more clear about how much he liked it than the notes suggest. Okay. This is a very atmospheric shot, and there's a lot about it to like. I just love the way she's kind of gazing off into the middle distance. And it's another one of these that you can sit and look at for quite a long time, wondering what's going on. Is she waiting for someone to arrive? Is she watching someone leaving? So there's all of that. It's slightly soft, but I don't think that's a problem. I think that actually works well around her face and eyes particularly. I think that works well with the mood of the photograph. I think it's the things which spoil it. The door mirror is bright right in front of her, and there's not much you can do about that, I think. But there's a little chink of light as well in the corner of the seatbelt behind her, which could have easily been got rid of. So there's just little things like that spoil it. Maybe just get in tighter on her, but then you wouldn't have the same sense of where she was. I think this sort of sense of her just gazing out at the front of the car, waiting for something, works very well. Okay, Kirsty?
I love the expression on her face. Her face is beautiful. And I do like the sense of feeling you have that she's sitting and waiting and she's very intent. But it's just a snapshot. it's not a competition photograph for me. There's too many distractions, like you say, the wing mirror, the metallic bits shining, the sky is completely blown out. I don't think it's a competition image. As lovely as her face is, maybe if you cropped it to a square crop, it would work better.
Yeah, I think it would. The thing that I didn't like about it was that yellow patch on the coat at the bottom in the middle. I found that really distracting. And I think if it'd been me, I would have tried to get rid of that in some way. I think her face is wonderful. And I think a crop right into her would make it a much stronger photograph and more of a portrait and less of a snapshot, as Kirsty had said, because it is a snapshot. It's just somebody's daughter waiting in the car, and the mirror is very distracting.
Okay, and Colin's view is pretty much precisely the same. Just a side shot of the girl in the car. Parents might like it. The reflection in the mirror is quite distracting, so he doesn't seem very taken by it either. Okay. Which is Mr. Blair with his lovely big oranges. There's bits of this which are very nice. The colour that they've used here, the green overall, the green tissue that is being used to hold the oranges, and of course the bright orange of the oranges themselves is sort of ruddy complexion. That all works very well. I like also his kind of dirty and broken fingernails. So it suggests that this is somebody who goes out and does things with, well, presumably not oranges, because he doesn't look like he grows them. But it's a sort of image I should imagine Mr. Blair will be quite happy to have hanging up in his shop or wherever he does, but probably not anybody else. Kirsty?
It's a competent portrait, but it doesn't grab me. It's more what you'd expect in a Works magazine employee of the month.
Yes.
I'm just glad he's not holding a pair of melons. But it's competent. It's well taken. It doesn't stand out for me. I couldn't think of anything that would make it into a good portrait photograph, competition photograph.
Okay.
Not for me.
No, I felt the same rather. I did feel it was cropped very close to his elbows. And I couldn't really understand, when the title is Mr. Blair, what were the significance of those oranges? And I wouldn't want those oranges being handled by such filthy hands, to be perfectly honest. No, it didn't do anything for me at all. That's me.
Yeah, I think the other Colin probably feels much the same. Portrait of a grocer, well exposed, has a good detail and set on a plain background. So there you are. Doesn't seem to have too much strong to say about it either. I think that's the end of the portrait section, is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So in terms of where we got to, we had Jan went for waiting, although again that doesn't sound like your view, but two of us.
Well, it was the best of the bad bunch, really.
Okay. Both Kirsty and I went for Simple Beauty, and Colin went for MB or MB, M, the name is. So Simple Beauty, I think, by a 2 to 1 to 1 margin.
Well, I did like that one. I really did.
I think it was the strongest image of the night. I think it's a really powerful image.
Yeah, it's very close. I'd say it was either that or the London After Dark one for me is the best overall image. I think the London After Dark just fits it, but it's such a striking face, isn't it?
Unlike Jan, I wish they'd cropped him just slightly tighter to take those two little black corners out the top, so you saw nothing but hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
like
probably be better than. Yeah, I just like to have seen the whole of her hair.
I think it's a portrait that demands you look at it.
Yeah. Certainly
Oh
does.
yes, definitely.
So we're on
Bird life.
birds.
Yes, now I must admit to being a bit nervous about doing this one, because I know we have a lot of very good and very committed bird photographers in the society, and as you're here, when we get on about 3 or 4 images through, some of them don't do a lot for me, but there's a very interesting mix of different kinds of takes on bird life in this set, I thought. This is very nice. I like the colours, the gold and the black gradually receding to black as you go back further into the distance. I like the way the eye seems to be looking at you. I'm not sure if a swan can look straight out to the right like that, but it seems to be making strong eye contact with you. I like the little drops of water coming down from the beak as it just touches into the water. The one thing I thought could have been changed to make it a little bit better was, to me, there's just too much neck. I mean, I know swans have long necks and that's how they are, but it's it just needs to be, I think it just needs to be cropped off a little bit on that left hand side, just to make the amount of neck that you got in the photograph a bit reduced. That sadly means you lose some of those ripples, so possibly there's not too much you can do about that. Kirsty.
Yes, I like the strong eye contact and I like the colours. I just find it slightly oddly placed in the frame. I'm not too happy with the composition either. But like you say, if you crop it, you lose the ripples, so I don't know what you do with it. Yeah. So for that reason, it's not one of my stronger ones in this group.
Okay. Jan?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good image, but I didn't like the fact that the reflection of the beak has disappeared in almost blown out light. I loved the ripples. I thought they were really, really nice, but it just sort of misses out slightly. And I'm not really quite sure why. It's partly because of the beak, I think, the reflection.
Okay. Yeah. We got problems with either end of the bird's head, basically, haven't we? Colin likes it. Nice shot of the swan's head, well seen, good detail, and a nice catchlight in the eyes. So I think we're all agreeing that the eye works very well, and a nice warm background to it again. So positive comments about the colours. Okay. Now this one I liked a lot. It's very dynamic. There's a great sense of energy in the picture. The colours are great. I don't know how accurately they portray the colours of those particular birds, but the sort of blue, pinks and yellows really work very well for me. I like the multiple exposure. I'm guessing there must have been some flash involved in this in order to get that effect, but I'm not sure. Again, this is something that other people might not like, but I like the amount of black there is around it. It's a bit difficult to tell on these PDFs when you get a black edge, just where the actual image ends and the black background to the PDF starts, if you see what I mean. I suspect it probably is closer in to the birds than it appears on my screen anyway. But I like that. I just love the sense of movement. It's a lovely shot. Kirsty.
I can appreciate how difficult this is to do, but I don't really like it. There's just a bit too much motion blur, too much going on. It's too busy for me. The colours are nice. I don't mind the black background with it. It's just too busy, too much blur.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it's really nice on the dark background. What I was a bit concerned about was that the movement isn't complete. You know, you've got the birds and you've got evidence of movement, but especially on the left hand side, there's evidence of movement, and then there's a gap, and then there's the wing, and I just didn't feel that really showed complete movement of the birds. But it must have been a very tricky shot to do, I must admit. Yeah, that's it.
Colin describes it as a nice action shot, likes the colours, the way the movements have been captured with the flash at the end to freeze the action. So again, entirely clear how he would evaluate it, but the things he's drawn attention to very similar to the rest of us. Okay. For me, this is almost really beautiful, but it just isn't quite. What I really like about it is the way the is it a cygnet, the small swan, has been framed by the neck of the big one in the background. So the composition is great. The idea of the relationship between the little bird and the big one is lovely. I think it just doesn't quite make it because the bird at the front, the cygnet, isn't sharp enough. It seems to be sharp right at the very bottom. So the bits of feather plumage which are nearest to you are sharp. Everything else is just a little soft, and it, well, in fact, very soft by the time you get up to the head. I don't think that's movement. I think it's a straightforward problem with focus. If you look at the ripples, it's focused just a little bit in front of that small bird. So the back one obviously was intended to be very soft, and that works very well. But for me, it would have been better if the one in the front would stand out just that little bit more by being a bit sharper. But the composition's great. Kirsty?
Yeah, for me, it's almost there as well, but not quite. I do like the recession of focus with the back adult swan being very out of focus. What I don't like about it is the reflection in the water. I find it very distracting, the way it's all stretched out, but then you don't have the head at the top. I would crop it off just under the cygnet's bum.
Yeah.
I don't mind that the cygnet isn't as sharp as it could be because it's got that sort of R factor, but it's not quite there.
Yeah, I didn't like the long elongated neck in the reflection either. And I think Kirsty's right. If you sort of cropped it off, it looks, I think it's better. I mean, it is a very sweet photograph, I have to say that. I wonder what it would have looked like if the swan at the back was in focus as well. I think it's very good the way it is, but I wonder if it might have been even stronger if the swan was in focus. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Okay.
Thanks. Colin was very keen on this one, likes it well seen and captured. I like the way the swan in the background frames the cygnet, which has nice warm tones and good detail. So I think Colin was quite enthusiastic about this one. Okay, onwards. That's a male kestrel. Now this is where I really do get anxious, because this is exactly the kind of bird photograph which I have a bipolar view on, really. Technically, it's excellent. We have bird feeders here, and like most people have bird feeders, I've stood there with my camera and fired off a few hundred shots. And not one of them, not a single one of them would be worth showing to anybody, let alone entering for something. So I appreciate absolutely how difficult it is to do this. The problem I have with these kind of shots is that the technically better they are, the more the bird looks as if it's been stuffed, frankly. I'm just watching Mike's face on my screen just to see if he's going to start spitting blood at me. I fully understand that other people love them and obviously work extremely hard to produce them. So I'm full of admiration for that. But I do have that real problem. So this looks to me as if it's, and the way the background is just the right colour to set off the bird, and the little bits of grass there are just in the right place. It just doesn't look real. And I do find that the technically better, so the sharper they get, the better the exposure is and so on, the more I have that problem with this kind of photograph. So full of admiration for the technical expertise and the huge amount of skill and patience and all the rest of it that goes into it. Look how sharp those eyes are. I mean, it's amazing. But in the end, it looks like a stuffed bird. I'm sorry. Kirsty.
I don't think it looks like a stuffed bird. I do think it looks real, but there's nothing about it that makes this shot stand out from many, many similarly good kestrel shots. I did find the eyes a little lifeless, and although there's movement in the feet with it moving towards it, it just doesn't really stand out.
Jan?
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, it is a lovely shot. I don't like the fact that right at the very bottom, the grass is out of focus. I think I'd have taken just a slither off at the bottom. But as we've said, it's a typical bird photograph, and technically it's very good, but it's almost a kestrel portrait, as though it's there ready for you to take a photograph. Okay.
Okay, well, I'm glad I'm not entirely alone in that you're quite as strong as me, but slightly unusual shot of the kestrel, says Colin, walking as opposed to flying. Nice face on the image of the bird, colours and the detail of the bird is spot on, it's set against the muted background. Okay. So the strike, this is very, very different from the previous one. This is full of life and energy. The ferocity of it is very, very clear to see. Wonderful focus right on the eye of the bird. I love all that chaos in the water all around it. The other sort of out of focus birds swimming around underneath there. It's very, very unusual. The head looks huge. You may not like that if you like birds that look like they're supposed to be, I suppose. But to me, it kind of moves into being more of a abstract and interesting image rather than the record shot of whatever kind of bird that is. It's not one I'd like to meet. But it's, yeah, I like that one very much indeed. Kirsty.
I think this is absolutely outstanding. I love this shot. It's sharp on the bird, the expression, the beak. It's got drama with the bubbles and the turbulence on top of the water and all the other birds driving in the background. And I just absolutely love the colour tones in this shot. I love it. Brilliant shot.
Personally, I don't like it very much, but I think it was very clever image. I mean, technically it's very good. It's very clear. It's just personally, I don't like it. And I don't like the bird below it. I feel it pulls my eye away a bit. But it's just such a violent image. But in a way that's good because it has, it shows what it's supposed to. And the fact that I don't like it because it's so violent is very good, actually. Yep.
Okay, so Colin asks, are they gannets? And perhaps somebody can tell us. Looks
Are gannets. They are gannets.
They are. Okay, Nikki.
Yeah.
So he likes the colours and the bubbles well captured and possibly quite dangerous. Yeah, which was entirely my view. So yes, I think we generally like that one, but not quite perfect. And then I think we have one left, do we? Heavy industry. This one, again, I like very much. I mean, look how wonderful that eye is. So it's obviously a very small section of some kind of gull. So it's another guy. It's the same as the other one.
It's the same bird that you saw underwater.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, doesn't it look a lot nicer in that one? That's amazing. But the colours in here are beautiful. I like the close crop. The eye just really holds your attention all the time. I think it would make a brilliant sort of poster for a film or something, wouldn't it? You could imagine the film in that space at the top right. I mean, this is one of my favourites of this particular category. Absolutely lovely. Kirsty.
Yes, I love this one as well. I like this very much. It's such a strong graphic image with the bird with the sticks coming out of its mouth, but it's the eye that captures you. It's like a serial killer eye. It's so intense.
Yeah,
outstanding. Lovely and sharp, very dramatic. I like the crop, I like everything about it.
Yeah, it's a great poster, but I don't think you want it on your bedroom wall, would you really, before you...
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, the only thing I would say is I don't like the bit of straw that's on its beak. But I think there's no distraction from the background. Everything else is well in focus. Whoever took it must have had a mighty big lens to be able to get something that good, that well in focus. and crop so much. But it is a strong image, yes.
And Colin describes it in much the same way, but it's difficult to know quite how much he likes it. So it's basically description, and liking the strong detail in the eye and the twigs and so on. Okay, so I think that's the end of the bird life section. Everyone had given me their first choice, and we're more split on this one than any of the others, which I think probably reflects the wide variety of different kinds of images in here. So we had one for the kestrel, one for the wing, and then Kirsty and I both kind of split our votes. So Kirsty had strike and heavy industry as kind of equal top, and I had flash dance and heavy industry as equal top. So
heavy industry was probably, because that was my second.
Okay, I was going to go for heavy industry on the grounds that two of us had picked it out, but if Jan's coming in as well, then that kind of sneaked into the lead. But it was interesting that we were more diverse on that one than we have been on any of the others. Okay, and the real winner was
Starling.
Okay.
I was just reflecting, Colin, on what you said about the better the bird images, the more you felt they looked stuffed.
I'm glad you're still speaking to me, Mike.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons possibly behind that is because when you watch birds in real life, you don't see that detail.
Yeah,
Constantly moving.
Yeah.
And so it looks a bit false to see that amount of detail, because that isn't the way you would see them naturally with your eye.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's one of the things I do like about it. It enables, and I like some of the macro ones coming up. It enables you to see things that you don't normally see, you can't normally see, and that's great. But anyway, I won't go back into stuffed birds again at this time of night.
So now we're
onwards. All right, so this is the macro section. Again, there's quite a mixed range in this, but we do come to a very clear conclusion, as you'll see at the end, about the one we like best. So veil, I like the colour in this. It's technically excellent. I assume you must use special equipment to trigger the shot at the precise time to get this kind of thing. It's oil being dropped in water, is it? I would imagine, something along those sort of lines. It's fascinating, but I don't like the shape of the thing at the top that it's formed. It just looks odd to me. It looks like a cap stuck on the top of the column of water coming up. I would, if that was a bit more random, I would like it a bit more. The thing I like about it most is the colour. I just love that, the way the blue kind of fades from right to left. That's really, really nice. Kirsty?
I'm not that keen on this one, and I thought I would be, because I do drippy photography and I know how difficult it is. Even with the drippy machine, it takes a lot of shots to get a pleasing shape that you like. And I agree with you that they've not picked the best shape for this one. The more parasol shots I find more pleasing to the eye than this. I'm also not keen on the colour. I find the red a little jarring against the blue.
Okay.
Not my favourite.
I liked the colour, and I liked the fact that it was sort of more purpley further down. Excuse me, and red at the top. At first, when I just glanced at it, I thought it was a mushroom, and then I realised what it was. And I like it, but it could be stronger.
Okay, and Colin again describes it, nice clean image of the water splash, likes the colours, lighter pinks and darker purples, thinks it has a nice shape, well exposed and a nice clean background. Okay. Ethereal mushrooms. My first glance, when this first came up on my screen, when we started looking at them, I thought this was lovely. I really like the what looks like a light shining down from inside that mushroom in the front. I like the light on the top of that mushroom in the front. I like the light on the moss leading down. But then the more you look at it, the more you become, or the more I become, distracted by the white bits in the background. I've no idea whether the photographer was intending this, but it looks, and there might be a clue in the title that they've used, it looks like a face looming up there. And again, it's one of those things that once you see it, destroys,
Oh, yes.
destroys the photograph. So I'm sorry if saying that has destroyed it for you.
Yes.
That's the trouble, isn't it, about drawing attention to these things. But it does, it just looks like a sort of cartoon ghoul looking over, and it ruins it absolutely for me, I'm afraid. So if that was just toned right down, that background, so it was all kind of the colour of the mid-green bits in the middle there, I think that would be really, really nice. As it is, it doesn't quite work. It's a great shame. Kirsty.
Yes, it's very similar. The main mushroom is lovely, nice detail, nice light. The light on the stem is gorgeous. The colour of the moss is lovely, but everything else in the shot distracts from it.
Yeah.
The bokeh is horrible. Those 3 mushrooms in the back are very distracting because they pull your eye away. I find there's too much out of focus in the bottom left-hand corner. As a shot overall, it doesn't work.
And I feel very much the same. I think the one mushroom is wonderful, but especially now I've seen the face, it's totally put me off.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that, but it's even more ruined now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Colin has very similar views. Likes the main mushroom with the light, but too many other mushrooms in there. Okay. Onwards. I found it interesting looking at this because I'm lucky to have a large garden, so I do, when I get outside in the summer, try to take lots of these kind of things. And I've always found that I don't like this. I think I'm doing something wrong. I don't like the kind of appearance of the skin or the scales, whatever you call it, on that insect. But looking at this, it's exactly the same kind of slightly unreal look that I get. So maybe, as Mike was saying earlier in relation to the bird, this is just something that happens when you get in really, really close to something that you don't normally see in that way. And they look different from how you would expect them to look. And if that's right, I'm kind of take some comfort in the fact that I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just actually getting it as it really is. So that, I mean, that for me, that was interesting. But I thought that this was unbalanced. So almost all of the right-hand side of it is not really doing anything. I'm not usually in agreement with our judges when they say there's too much dead space, because I quite like space around the main thing to set it in context. But this doesn't work. If it was plainer, it might be better. If you didn't have the second out of focus bug in the background there, it will be better. But as it is, it's neither just kind of empty space, which might work, nor adding more interest. It's a bit of a mess. Kirsty.
Yeah, I don't like this at all. It's far too busy for me. The colours are too bright, they're too garish, they're too clashing. The white grass going up at the back I find very distracting. There's just too much going on for me. It's really difficult to concentrate on one insect when you just eyes pulled away everywhere. It's too busy.
Well, I liked the moth, and it all appeared to be really well in focus, but I wondered about all the rest of it. And I mean, I know it says the comment is about the second insect, and I don't like that at all. It's because it's not in focus, and it just clashes with the rest of the colours too. I think it's a pity about the thistle that's behind the grass that the moth is on. But on the other hand, that's how it was, you know. And yes, the right-hand side is a little bit, I wouldn't take all of it off, but I perhaps would take some of it off, especially the ones that have got black bits on them. Go on. And then I think I'd probably clone the orange insect out. Okay. But that's just my view.
Yeah, Colin's view is very similar, very busy, not sure where to look. Is it a composite that's been overdone? Good focus on the front bug, but the outer focus orange bug is unwelcome. Okay. And then this is just one of those ones where you just go, wow, don't you? I think when you look at it, absolutely crystal sharp, terrifying to look at. It's another one you certainly wouldn't want blown up big on your bedroom wall. I love the colours. I assume that those are the natural colours of whatever it is. Works very well with the colour that's been selected for the background. Yeah, lovely. Kirsty?
Similar, I can't find any fault with this. I think it's just amazing. The detail, the colours, it's lovely. I really like it. I don't know what it is. Praying mantis, I was guessing, but it's a great shot.
Damselfly. The big sign at the top says damselfly.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right. I've had a lot of gin.
Just put it in the title. Put it in the title.
Yeah, I thought it was a lovely shot. I certainly wouldn't want it on my wall. It would probably give me nightmares, but everything's so clear. It was just excellent, but I don't like it very much. It's frightening.
Colin says pretty much the same. Love this. Detail and focus are spot on. You can see all the hairs, all the detail in the eyes, the lighting just right, and the colours are spot on. So I think we're all in agreement. That's pretty good. Again, I've attempted some of these, having a few cacti around the place. It's hard to find any kind of technical fault, I think, with this. They've allowed the focus to drop off as the plant just recedes away a little bit, which helps to frame your focus your attention onto the bit in the middle. The even lighting across it is good, but in the end, it's just a little bit dull, I'm afraid. Kirsty?
I do like this. It's very interesting, almost abstract shot of the cactus. I like the patterns, I like the colours. I mean, it's not as strong as some of the other photos in this category, but I do think that's a good image. I like the lighting on it. I like the crop. Yeah, I think it's well done.
Okay. Jen?
I think it would have been nice as a square. So to get rid of some of the bits that are losing focus to the side, because I really like the middle of it.
Yeah.
The green and the white or cream is really, really strong, and it's really well in focus. And I just think the bits at the side spoil it a bit. And if you do sort of try and make a square photo out of it, I think it's a lot stronger. And I did like it. Yeah. Yeah,
I think Colin's saying something similar. Describes it as being busy, nice shape and pattern, but I'm not sure which part to focus on. Would a tighter crop help to keep focus in the middle? So I think you're saying something very similar, Jen.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I think we've got one more left.
Yeah.
This is another one I thought would work really well as a poster for a film or something, wouldn't it? I like the semi-silhouette to it, which works very well. I can just kind of see through the wings while the rest of it is nice and blocky. Sufficient detail on the legs there to show the little hairs. The reflections of the grass kind of work, but there are shadows there that are not repeating anything that you can see. And so that looks a little bit odd. And although the big white circle of light, I'm not sure if that is sort of shooting into the sun, is obviously what it's all about. It's almost too strong. If that was kind of able to create the same kind of silhouette, but without being quite such a strong circle, if that makes any sense at all, I think that will be a little bit better. But there's a lot that I do like about that one. Kirsty?
Yes, I like this a lot. I like the graphic feel to it with a strong silhouette, but you still have some detail in the wings. I like the shadows in the background. The only thing I don't like is the circle of light. I would like a softer edge to that. I think that would be more pleasing. But it's very strong and I do like it. I'd put that on the wall.
Yeah.
I wondered if it might have been better if the insect was completely within the spotlight. I don't know. I just sort of felt there were these little bits of the insect sticking outside the spotlight. And there's a really funny sort of reflective element around the spot. If it is a spotlight, was it because it wasn't taken with a tripod and so there's unnecessary movement? I don't know. It is a lovely photograph, But I don't think I'd put it on my wall. No.
Okay, and Colin, nice backlit shots. Silhouette seem to have lost some detail. Pity the centre part of the wings are blacked up, he says. Background grass is quite light, and I want to keep looking past the damselfly at the grass in the background. Okay, that's it.
And the winner is?
Well, we were very clear, all four of us independently went for damselfly on this one. The beach bug.
Oh, you're joking.
No.
Oh no, that I forgot.
It's horrible.
That's awful. And that's where he says it was a magic moment that the soldier beetle landed on the thistle.
Spoils it for me.
Yeah.
I'd have preferred just to have the 6-spot burnet moth.
Yeah.
And forget the other bug.
Yeah, that's very strange. I mean, some of the others that we've not agreed with, I can understand, but that one I find really quite hard when you compare it to some of the others in that.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the head-on shot of the damselfly was the clear winner for me.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It was a stunning shot.
But for me, that one is worst of the group. I don't know how that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had it. It was one of the bottom ones, certainly.
Yeah,
Well,
and I.
I think the only saving grace is it does give that wonderful sense of summer.
And actually, as a small image, as we've got on the screen now, it looks slightly better than as a big image because, as you say, it gives a sort of overall a feeling of a summer field.